Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We have officially made it through the fourth week of the NFL season, meaning we are 1 month through this NFL season. In week 4, I went 8-7 with my picks. There was a tie between the Cowboys and the Packers. That gives me an overall record of 40-23 on the season. So, I was hoping for a bounce back week last week after not having a stellar week 3. Hopefully a bounce back week 5 after not having a stellar week 4. So let's get into some of these week 5 games. Week 5 kicks off this Thursday with an NFC West battle. The second week in a row, it is an NFC West showdown on Thursday Night Football as the San Francisco 49ers, who are 3-1, coming off of a loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, take on the LA Rams, who are also 3-1, but coming off of a victory over the Indianapolis Colts last week. The Niners are a team that is absolutely banged up right now. Talent-wise, if both of these teams were healthy, I think that both of them are the most talented teams in their division. Going into the season, I thought the 49ers would be the best team in the NFC West, but that was the caveat of if they were healthy. Right now, they are not healthy. They're Brock Purdy's just came back from his injuries, from his shoulder and toe injury, and is still dealing with some toe soreness. I still don't have George Kittle out with injury. Looks like they might not have Ricky Pearsall due to injury. Juwan Jennings is banged up again. This team is continues to stay banged up, continues to stay injured, unfortunately. For the Rams, they are clicking on all cylinders right now. They played really well against Indianapolis. Puka Nacua really showed up in that game. Their defense continues to play well, continues to be a force to reckon with for NFL teams. So due to the fact that the Niners are dealing with injuries and how good this Rams defense is and how good Puka and this offense has been playing this season, I do think that the LA Rams get the victory here over the 49ers. Next up on Sunday morning, you have another international game. This time you're moving from Ireland to London as the Minnesota Vikings, who did play in that Dublin, Ireland game last week, who are 2-2, coming off of unfortunately losing to the Steelers in that game, take on the Cleveland Browns, who are 1-3, coming off of a loss to the Detroit Lions. Cleveland, they started that game really well, and then their offense sputtered on their defense. Still very good, couldn't keep up with the Lions' high-powered offense. The Cleveland Browns also look like they're going to make a quarterback change, and it looks like Dillon Gabriel could get his first start of the season. For the Minnesota Vikings, they started off poorly against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but then kind of near the end tried to make it close, but ultimately fell short. Now this week, I understand they're not staying in the same country, but they're staying in the same time zone, which can make a massive difference when you're accustomed to that time zone in back-to-back weeks. Also, their defense, which is a very good defense, gets a rookie quarterback to go against. I think they're going to be able to disrupt Dillon Gabriel. I think that this is a battle of two really good defenses. This could be a very low-scoring game, and I ultimately think that the experience of Carson Wentz will be one of the big difference makers here. I do think that the Minnesota Vikings will get the victory over the Cleveland Browns. Next up, you have the Vegas Raiders, who are 1-3, coming off of a loss to the Chicago Bears off of a last-second blocked field goal. Take on the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3-1, coming off of their pretty close loss to the LA Rams. The Colts continue to look very good. One of their big things that cost them was late in that game. Wide receiver Adonai Mitchell had a spectacular catch and was about to score a touchdown, but while he was switching the ball to his other hand to celebrate right before the end zone, he fumbled it and it went out of the back of the end zone. Colts lost possession. That wound up being one of the big momentum swingers and big difference makers in that game that ultimately wound up costing them, even though they overall played a very good game against a very good Rams team. For the Raiders, Ashton Jeanty finally had his breakout game. He had a tremendous game, but unfortunately, Geno Smith continues to struggle. Geno Smith is somebody I thought would be much better on this Raiders team than he has been. He's started off the season actually worse this year than Gardner Minshew was for them to start last season. I don't really know if I can trust their offense. I think Ashton Jeanty can still produce, but without a consistent quarterback, I can't trust this offense. So I am going to go with the Colts to bounce back and get a victory here over the Raiders. I just think that, with the exception of the Adonai Mitchell thing last week, Daniel Jones is still playing good football. Jonathan Taylor is still a very good running back. This defense should be able to get after Geno Smith and disrupt him. So I do think the Indianapolis Colts get the victory over the Vegas Raiders. Next up, you have the New York Giants, who are 1-3, coming off of their first victory of the season, knocking off the 3-0 Chargers last week in Jackson Dart's first start, taking on the New Orleans Saints, who are 0-4, coming off the loss to the Bills, which for most of that game, they kept it very competitive, kept it very close. But ultimately, towards the end of that game, their defense was not able to contain Josh Allen. They were not able to contain James Cook for the Buffalo Bills, and they ultimately wound up losing. Now, this is a game that, honestly, I think could go either way. I think both of these defenses should play very well against their, the offenses of these teams. Jackson Dart, I don't know how he's going to do. This is his second start. This is first time he's going to go on the road, going to New Orleans. For New Orleans, Spencer Rattler has actually played pretty well. He only has one interception on the season, but their offense has sputtered out on long drives. Against the Bills, they tried to run a Philly special that wound up not working and resulted in a turnover. But I do think that their defense should be able to contain Jackson Dart on the road. I think this will be a defensive slugfest, but I think that Spencer Rattler and this Saints offense should be able to make enough plays, and the Saints defense should be able to contain and slow down Jackson Dart and this Giants offense, especially without Malik Nabers, who unfortunately tore his ACL last week. I do think that the Saints get their first victory here over the Giants. And I do think the Saints get their first victory over the Giants. Next up, you have the Dallas Cowboys, who are 1-2-1, coming off of their 40-40 tie over the Green Bay Packers this past week, taking on the New York Jets, who are 0-4, coming off of their loss to the Miami Dolphins this past Monday. The Cowboys, their offense, even without CeeDee Lamb, was playing terrific against a very tough Green Bay Packers defense. Unfortunately, their defense made plays at times, but was not able to make enough plays. They gave up 40 points. For the New York Jets, they show flashes. There's times that, especially on offense, Justin Fields looks amazing. Garrett Wilson looks very good. Breece Hall has flashes of great plays. One of their first drives against Miami this past week, they were run the ball down their throats, just out physicaling them at the line of scrimmage, just showing that they looked like the better team. Got down to the goal line, fumbled, and then Miami was able to take it and kind of carve up this Jets defense, which I thought would be much better than they are right now. So I am going to pick the Dallas Cowboys to get the victory here. I think they had success against a much better Packers defense than this Jets defense is. I don't know if I can trust this Jets offense, although they do show flashes. They haven't been able to show they've been very consistent. And yeah, this defense, I can't trust this Jets defense. They have not looked very good at all this season yet. So I do think the Dallas Cowboys get the victory over the New York Jets. Next up, you have the Denver Broncos, who are 2-2, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 4-0. The Broncos coming off a pretty dominant victory over the Cincinnati Bengals on this past Monday night. The Philadelphia Eagles coming off of a victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in which the first half of that game, for a big portion of the game, they were dominant. They did almost allow the comeback at the end, but ultimately they wound up being able to hold off the Buccaneers and get the victory. This is a game, I think the Philadelphia Eagles win this. I think they are a far more talented team. I think defensively, they might cause Bo Nix some struggles. I think offensively, they should be able to run the ball on this Broncos defense as good as it is. And if they've shown already this season, if they can't get the run game going, they can still get the pass game going with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and get Dallas Goedert involved. So I think that this Eagles team has too many ways that they can beat their opponents. So I do think that they get the victory over the Denver Broncos. Next up, you have the Miami Dolphins, who are 1-3, coming off of their victory over the New York Jets, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who are also 1-3, coming off of a blowout loss to the New England Patriots, where they gave up 42 points the week after giving up 0 points to the Atlanta Falcons. This Panthers team is very inconsistent. This Dolphins team looks like they're kind of starting to hit their stride offensively. Unfortunately, they did lose Tyreek Hill for the season with a knee injury. But even without Tyreek Hill, I think this offense is good enough to score on this Panthers defense. I don't think the Panthers have the talent right now to kind of to outscore the Miami Dolphins. So I do think that the Dolphins can get the victory here in what could be a surprisingly high-scoring game, or could be an absolute low-scoring affair because neither offense can get anything going. By the way, I think the Miami Dolphins get out of here with the victory. Next up, you have the Houston Texans, who are 1-3, coming off of getting their first victory of the season over the Tennessee Titans, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are also 1-3. Coming off of a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, in which in that game, Lamar Jackson suffered a hamstring injury. So it looks like he is not going to be available for this game. So this does make it a little bit more difficult to pick, because it looks like Cooper Rush is going to get the start against this very good Houston Texans defense, very good Houston Texans pass rush. But I still don't know if I can trust this Houston Texans offense or this Houston Texans offensive line. So, rookie running back Woody Marks had a very good game against the Titans. The Titans defense is not as good as this Ravens defense. I do think Houston's offense could get some stuff going. I think this Ravens pass rush should still be able to get after C.J. Stroud at a very, very good rate. Offensively for the Ravens, even without Lamar Jackson, they still have Derrick Henry back there, and Derrick Henry has built a career before going to Baltimore on pretty much running through this Houston Texans defense when he was in the AFC South on the Titans. So I do think that the Baltimore Ravens get the victory. I think that victory comes on the back of running it with Derrick Henry and getting after C.J. Stroud with their pass rush. So I do think the Baltimore Ravens get the victory over the Houston Texans, even without Lamar Jackson. Next up, you have the Tennessee Titans, who were 0-4, coming off of their loss to the Houston Texans, in which their offense did not score a single point. Taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who were 2-2, coming off of a very close loss to the Seattle Seahawks last Thursday night, in which they staged a bit of a comeback at the end of the game, but ultimately fell short. For Tennessee, I think this is their best chance they've had so far to win a game. This is by far the worst defense they've gone against so far, which is very good for C.J. Stroud. Very good for C.J. Stroud. Blanking on very good for Cam Ward, as he has faced kind of a gauntlet of defenses to start his career for the first month. But For the Arizona Cardinals, they're also going against a very weak Tennessee Titans defense, which, very good for Kyler Murray, very good for Marvin Harrison, probably very good for Trey Benson, who couldn't really get much going against the Seahawks. So, as much as I like their chances to win this game, I don't think Tennessee gets it done. I don't really think offensively they have enough talent around Cam Ward right now to be a massive threat to the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals are missing some pieces on defense. But I think Arizona should be able to get something going against this Tennessee defense. I think this is going to be one of the games where Kyler Murray actually shows up and has a very good game. So I do think that the Arizona Cardinals get the victory over the Tennessee Titans. Next up, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3-1, coming off of their loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who are also 3-1, coming off of their victory over the Arizona Cardinals. For the Buccaneers, they might be without Bucky Irving for this game, but they do still have very good talent on this offense. They got Rashad White. If Bucky can't go, he's a very talented back. They still have Emeka Egbuka. They got Chris Godwin back last week. They got Tristan Wirfs back last week on the offensive line. So they got their best offensive lineman back, which, really helping that offense. It really should help that offense, especially as he continues to get farther along from his injury. Defensively, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a very good defense and are very good at generating pressures. For the Seahawks, they're also very good, but they took a while to really get going against the Cardinals last week. Their defense was really keeping them in the game for a big portion of it because they kept capitalizing off Kyler Murray mistakes. I don't think Baker Mayfield makes those same kind of mistakes. I don't think that their defense is going to be able to bail out their offense like they did against the Cardinals. So I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get the victory over the Seattle Seahawks. So I think they can get off to a faster start, and the Seahawks won't be able to keep up with them. Next up, you have the Detroit Lions, who are 3-1, coming off of their victory over the Cleveland Browns, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 2-2, coming off of getting kind of embarrassed on Monday Night Football by the Denver Broncos. The Cincinnati Bengals, without Joe Burrow, this offense has not been able to produce much of anything. I'm somebody that thought that even without Joe Burrow, they still had enough talent on the offense with Jake Browning to, stay competitive in games, win some of these games. But their offensive line is a massive issue. I think that this defensive line and pass rush, especially with Aiden Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions, are going to be able to get after Jake Browning, going to be able to slow down Chase Brown. Without Joe Burrow, T. Higgins has kind of become a non-factor in this offense. Jamar Chase has really been their only good player, and even he hasn't been getting very good opportunities because Jake Browning has no time to throw the ball to him. And defensively, I don't think this defense couldn't stop the run of the Denver Broncos as they allowed J.K. Dobbins to have 100 yards rushing on them. I don't think they're going to do anything against the running back duo for the Detroit Lions and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they're going to be able to run all over them. I do think the Detroit Lions should get the victory here, and I don't really have a whole lot of hope right now for this Bengals team as a whole, but especially their offense with how poor their offensive line is. Next up, you have the Washington Commanders, who are 2-2, coming off of a loss to the Atlanta Falcons, in which it was the second game in a row they had Marcus Mariota starting at quarterback due to Jaden Daniels' knee injury. Looks like hopefully they'll have Jaden Daniels back for this game, which would be a big boost to their offense. They were also without Terry McLaurin in that game. Looks like they can get him back, which would be another big boost for that offense. And for the Chargers, they're coming off of a loss to the New York Giants. It's their first loss of the season. It's Giants' first win of the season. In that game, they lost left tackle Joe Alt to a high ankle sprain. So I don't know if he's going to play in that game. I don't really affect their offensive line. In that game, Justin Herbert struggled a little bit, but their passing game was still pretty good, but that Giants defensive line was really able to get after him. Defensively, they struggled with Jackson Dart scrambling and running around. Because of their struggling against Jackson Dart and his scrambling, I do think that the Washington Commanders actually get the victory because of their quarterback's mobility. If Jaden Daniels plays, he's a much better scrambler than Jackson Dart is. He's a much better passer than Jackson Dart is right now. And even if it's Mariota again, Mariota is another guy that is a mobile quarterback, and the Chargers defense could struggle with. And I do think that this Commanders defense can slow down this Chargers offense enough, especially if Joe Alt is banged up, that I do think that the Commanders can get the victory here over the LA Chargers. Moving on, the Sunday night football game, you have an AFC East battle as the New England Patriots, who are 2-2, coming off of their very big victory over the Carolina Panthers, take on the Buffalo Bills, who are 4-0, coming off of their victory over the New Orleans Saints. The Patriots, against the Panthers, showed what their offense is capable of when they don't turn the ball over 4 times. Is what they should have looked like against the Steelers 2 weeks ago. Without all the, except for the fact they kept turning the ball over. Well, they didn't have those turnovers against the Panthers. Their defense showed up in a big way for them. Their special teams with Marcus Jones having a punt return touchdown and a couple more very good punt returns. They were really clicking on all cylinders in all 3 phases of the game. The most complete game they've played this season. And for the Buffalo Bills, they struggled against the Saints. Their defense has had some struggles. Their defense is banged up. They've been without Matt Milano. They've been without Ed Oliver. I don't know if they're going to have either of those 2 back for this game. And for their offense, Josh Allen and James Cook. The Saints did their best to contain them for most of their game last week, but ultimately Josh Allen found a way to do Josh Allen things. James Cook, as talented as he is, found a way to break some big runs. I do think this game will actually be a lot closer than people think, and I'm going to go with the New England Patriots to get the victory. One of the big reasons is I don't trust this Bills defense. As long as New England can hang on to the ball and Drake May can play well, and I think they can get the run game going, as they have a pretty good 3-headed monster in the run game with Stevenson, Gibson, and Travion Henderson, who all got pretty good work against the Panthers. I think Stephon Diggs getting more involved in this offense really helps them. And I think their defense, they're not going to be able to shut down Josh Allen. But hopefully they can contain him long enough, much like the Saints did, that the New England Patriots can get a very close victory over the Buffalo Bills. Finally, on Monday Night Football, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 2-2, coming off of their victory over the Baltimore Ravens, take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were 3-1, coming off of their victory over the San Francisco 49ers. The Chiefs, they finally got Xavier Worthy back after he missed a few games with a shoulder injury. He played really well. This Chiefs offense, the Chiefs team as a whole, looked like they had last season. Looks like the Chiefs team of old. Patrick Mahomes had a very good game. Their defense was able to contain the Ravens, contain the rush game. For the Jaguars, actually had a very good game against the Niners as well in all 3 phases. Their defense looks to play very well. Trevor Lawrence looked a little bit more consistent, but I don't know if I can trust it. Again, because I can't trust Trevor Lawrence, and because of how good this Chiefs team looked last week, I'm going to go with the Chiefs to get the victory. I think their defense should be able to disrupt this Jaguars offense. I think they'll find a way to slow down Travis Etienne, who has been one of the Jaguars' best offensive weapons this season. He's been their best running back, but I think the Chiefs can slow him down. I think Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense should have a very good game, even though the Jaguars defense has looked better. But I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of starting to find their groove again, and looking like the Chiefs of old. I do think the Kansas City Chiefs get the victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me know who you guys are thinking going to win in the comments, what game you're very much looking forward to. For me, it is the Patriots-Bills game. I'm excited to see the Patriots get their first real test of the season and see how they do. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Until next time.